Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're doing something a little different. We're becoming active text detectives. We are taking some source material on English comprehension and breaking it down piece by piece. The ultimate goal? To give you the exact toolkit you need to look at any dense, intimidating block of text and instantly decode its meaning. So, let's dive right in. Be honest now. Have you ever read an entire page only to realize you have absolutely no idea what it actually said? I mean, we've literally all been there. You get to the very bottom of the page, your eyes have tracked every single word, but your brain just hasn't retained a thing. You're left staring blankly, realizing you have to start the whole process all over again. It is the incredibly frustrating struggle of passive reading. But today, we're putting an end to that for good. Here is our roadmap for today's explainer. First, we'll dissect the anatomy of a paragraph. Second, we'll put those skills to the test with a case study focused on the logic of computers. Third, we'll uncover the power of linkages in writing. And finally, we'll wrap up by testing your comprehension. All right, let's jump straight into section 1, anatomy of a paragraph. So, what exactly makes up a paragraph? You know, a paragraph isn't just a random assortment of words tossed together on a page. It's actually a highly organized puzzle box just waiting to be opened. And to open it, you need to identify 3 distinct pieces that the writer has deliberately hidden inside. The very first piece of that puzzle is the topic. Think of the topic as the absolutely most basic answer you get when you pause after reading a paragraph and ask yourself, okay, what was this broadly about? It's usually just a single word or a very short phrase. It's basically the overarching umbrella under which everything else in that paragraph sits. Right on top of that, the next piece is the main idea. If the topic is just the general subject, the main idea is what the writer actually wants you to know about that subject. It is the primary point, the core message, really the thesis of the text. It's the absolute most important takeaway the author is trying to get across to you. And finally, we have the supporting idea. These are your secondary details, concrete examples, or factual evidence used to back up that main idea. Now, interestingly enough, not every single paragraph is going to have supporting ideas. Sometimes a writer just states a main idea and moves right along. But when supporting ideas do exist, they serve as the crucial pillars holding up the main point, essentially proving to you why that main idea is valid in the first place. Moving right along to section 2, case study, the computer. Let's look at our source text. It kicks off with this line. A computer is a machine with an intricate network of electronic circuits that operate switches or magnetize tiny metal cores. Whew! Okay, keeping in mind we're looking at a foundational text here with some slightly vintage terminology, it's pretty dense, right? Well, let's break it down together. This excerpt actually perfectly illustrates the difference between a topic and a main idea. Broadly speaking, the topic is literally just a computer is a machine. Simple as that. But digging a bit deeper, the main idea is that we make this machine do what we want by inputting specific signals. So the topic is the subject, but the main idea is the actual revelation. And the text goes on to offer supporting ideas, like how it stores and manipulates numbers and letters to back all of that up. Now, skipping down a bit to the 5th paragraph of our source text, it focuses on a computer's ability to make decisions. That sounds super advanced, right? Almost human. But our new text detective skills reveal that the main idea here is highly specific. A computer's so-called decisions are strictly mathematical comparisons. It only asks, is one number less than another? Are 2 numbers equal? Or is one number greater than another? It doesn't decide who's going to win a war or who the richest person in the world is. It only makes logical decisions, definitely not value judgments. So once you do this kind of analysis, paragraph by paragraph, finding the topic, identifying the main idea, and noting those supporting examples, you can actually zoom all the way out. You can look at the entire 6-paragraph text and synthesize one macro main idea for the whole shebang. For our source text, that global main idea is this. Computers are machines capable of processing and outputting information. Every single paragraph in the text serves to build and support that one specific sentence. All right, on to section 3, the power of linkages. Here we are talking about linkages, which are also known as references. Basically, these are words, usually pronouns and demonstrative adjectives, that act as the invisible glue within and between sentences. They substitute for other words to connect ideas smoothly together. Because without this glue, reading is a totally monotonous chore. Just listen to this. Some students read slowly but do not know the students read slowly. Wow, that is exhausting. But by substituting they and do, the writer connects the ideas seamlessly. Some students read slowly but do not know that they do. It's that essential glue that saves us from a really terrible repetitive reading experience. To truly comprehend a text, you absolutely have to actively track these linkages. Like when you see the word they, your brain needs to automatically map it back to students who read slowly. Or when a writer compares two groups and uses the terms the latter and the former, you need to know exactly which group is which to understand the point being made, right? The latter refers to the last mentioned group, while the former points back to the first mentioned group. Active reading means always knowing exactly what these little words are pointing to. Which brings us to Section 4, Testing Your Comprehension. A really fantastic way to test your comprehension is through recall and context clues. Our source material actually challenges us to fill in the blanks. For example, if a sentence says a computer uses an intricate network of electronic what? Well, if you actively grasp the supporting ideas earlier, you'd immediately recall the word circuits. Or if it asks what a terminal with a screen is referred to, you'd pull up the exact term, CRT display. Connecting that vocabulary back to the main ideas proves you have true comprehension. So let's try out a few true or false questions drawn straight from our case study. Think back to what we just talked about regarding computer logic. True or false? Computers can make any type of decision they are asked to. What do you think? Well, the answer is false. Remember, computers do not deal in value judgments. They don't know right from wrong or good from bad. They can only make three highly specific, logical, mathematical comparisons. If you caught that distinction, your active reading is paying off beautifully right now. Okay, let's do one final true or false question on how a computer fundamentally operates. True or false? A computer can store or handle any data, even if it hasn't received information to do so. Think about the overarching main idea we established earlier. And false again. The source text explicitly tells us that a computer has absolutely zero originality. None. It operates strictly according to the data and the programmed instructions inputted by humans. Sure, it can process information at the speed of light, which is way faster than any person, but it literally cannot do a single thing it hasn't explicitly been told to do. Well, that brings us to our final thought. Today, we've gone from passive readers to active text detectives. We've learned how to hunt down the topic, extract the main idea, identify the supporting evidence, and map out the linkages that glue the whole thing together. So I'm going to leave you with this question. The next time you face a dense wall of text, whether it's for work, for school, or just your own personal curiosity, are you going to let your eyes passively gloss over the words, or are you going to grab your toolkit and actively decode the meaning? The choice is absolutely yours, and the power to understand is entirely in your hands. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and I can't wait to break down our next topic with you soon. Keep learning and keep decoding.